Are you someone that relies on caffeine and other stimulants to perform at your peak? What's up, guys, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to explain some of the signs and symptoms of low cortisol. So you don't often hear about the common signs and symptoms of low cortisol. So I'm going to basically break that down and explain some of the key features and aspects that someone can look at when determining if they have low cortisol. So obviously this is not medical advice, and this video is purely for informational purposes only. And if you're brand new to my channel, I highly encourage you to subscribe, as I will be releasing some very, very useful health content. And many of you already know that through my Instagram, my podcast, and my website. So what I've done is I've put together a presentation to go through the key signs and symptoms of low cortisol to help you guys get a better idea on some of the key features. So just going to share my screen here. Okay, cool. So here are the main signs and symptoms. I've already spoken to or briefly about some of the symptoms of high cortisol in one of my other videos. So if you haven't already checked that out, definitely encourage you to do so. So let's get into it. So just a reminder that cortisol is the hormone that's mostly related to stress. However, it does perform many other vital roles in the body. And just remember that without this hormone, you will not live. It's that crucial. You'll see soon how it regulates and monitors various other organ systems and other metabolic parameters in the body. So here are the top 3 consequences of low cortisol. The first one is fatigue, and this is most pronounced first thing in the morning. Most people who have low cortisol will really struggle to wake up. They'll have difficulty getting out of bed, generally just starting their day. They'll feel tired, heavy, lethargic, difficulty just performing basic tasks, and morning exercise is often very difficult. So that's definitely one of the key consequences of low cortisol. The next one is anhedonia, which is the inability to experience pleasure. Now, this is tied into how cortisol regulates the serotonin 5-HT1A receptor, which I've spoken about in the context of post-SSRI sexual dysfunction, and also with other compounds and agents that modulate mood. So very common that people with low cortisol experience anhedonia, which is the inability to experience pleasure from things that should be pleasurable, such as music, sex, chocolate, things that would usually bring pleasure. That is blunted in those with low cortisol. And then number 3 is weakness. Now, those that have low cortisol often struggle with muscular weakness, and this is related to its effects on blood volume and sodium retention and water retention, so and blood pressure. So with low cortisol, we actually struggle to contract our muscles because oftentimes we are dehydrated, and those with low cortisol will know that they often urinating too much and losing salt and water. So that's one key feature of low cortisol. Here are some of the other signs and symptoms of low cortisol. We have salt cravings. That's a very, very common one. Low blood sugar and hypoglycemia. Now, this is related to the fact that cortisol is a glucocorticoid, which means it actually raises blood sugar levels. So with low cortisol, we can't actually stabilize our blood sugar levels, and that can affect sugar cravings and feeling hungry after meals, like 2 hours after eating. The next point is that low cortisol can cause low blood pressure, and that's related to, again, the fact that cortisol regulates sodium balance and sodium retention, salt retention, sodium retention by the body. So that those that have low cortisol tend to have very low systolic and diastolic blood pressures. Weak immune system, that's related to the fact that cortisol can affect the immune balance, specifically Th1 and Th2 immune markers and things like that. Lightheaded, they often feel lightheaded or dizzy, particularly upon from sitting to standing. They have impaired cognitive function. That's related to just poor blood flow, and also general vitality and vigor is compromised. They actually have low body temperature. Now, this is really fascinating that even with some people that address thyroid issues, but their cortisol is still low, they'll still struggle to get their body temperature up. So those that introduce small amounts of cortisol or manage to increase cortisol, they can raise their body temperature. So that goes to show you how thyroid and cortisol are highly integrated, and that we can't just optimize one, we need to optimize both, or all hormones really. I've spoken about testosterone. You guys know that I've managed to get my testosterone to 988 nanograms per deciliter. You'll see a link to that course in the video description for those guys that want to optimize testosterone naturally. Psychiatric symptoms, increase in skin pigmentation. So this is related to elevated ACTH that can affect skin pigmentation. And then obviously the psychiatric symptoms are pretty straightforward. Many of you will probably be able to relate to at least depression and anxiety, memory impairment from other pathways and things like that. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Just remember, healthy cortisol equals a healthy body. If you want to learn more, check out my website, my courses, my newsletter, my podcast, and my Instagram. Hit that subscribe button below, like the video, please share it around, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.